Hi, and welcome to the 7th episode in the Grade 9 Physics series of the Knowledge Catalog. Medyo nag-catch up ako dun. Okay, so this episode of the Grade 9 Physics series of the Knowledge Catalog is featuring the following learning competency. As you notice, this is one of the two learning competencies that we had in the previous session. So this learning competency reads as relate impulse and momentum to collision of objects such as in vehicular collision. So if you want to follow through with the reading material, you can have a copy of the 7E based self-learning module in Science 9 which I have developed, and open it in book 19 pages 2 to 5. And this session is specifically going to be featuring the following parts of that book. So for the first part of this session, we have a pre-assessment comprised of multiple choice items. And then the second part of this session is comprised of another assessment, which is a recap of projectile motion, para alam natin kung ready ka na bang mag-take ng bagong responsibility. Okay, so para alam natin kung ready ka na ba mag-take ng new challenges, okay, which are going to be given by this book 19. And then you also have to do the last part of this session. Puro tayo assessment. It is a recap assessment on Newton's laws of motion. So ito naman is aiming at reaching quite farther back in your scientific journey in junior high school. So later on we'll be explaining kung ano yung gagawin dyan at kung bakit ano siya ginagawa. But for now, let us take one step at a time. Let's begin with the pre-assessment multiple choices. So, routine lang to. Remember that you need a sheet of paper or your science notebook in doing this pre-assessment. Okay, remember that you are also supposed to label your work, upper left-hand corner, pre-assessment multiple choices, para organized ang mga ginagawa mo. Ayan. So let's begin with the first question. In the market, Milagros was pushing her cart that has grocery items weighing a total of 22 kilograms, and she pushes it to the right with a velocity of 1.2 meters per second. So how much momentum does the cart has? A. 24.6 kilograms meters per second. B. 26.4 kilograms meters per second. C. 23.2 kilograms meters per second, or is it D. 22.3 kilograms meters per second? Question number 2. Momentum, just like most derived quantities in physics, is affected by different factors. Which among the following pairs of words represent the factors, so there are like two factors that will affect momentum of, let's just say, a truck? A. Mass and density. B. Mass and volume. C. Mass and velocity. Or is it D. Mass and time? So all of them, they all contain mass. So your task now is just to choose. Is it density, volume, velocity, or time? Question number 3. Okay, objects tend to have a different momentum depending on whether force is applied in the same direction as the motion or against the direction of the motion of an object. This change in momentum being described refers to which of the following quantities in physics? A. Impact. B. Impulse. C. Intensity. Or is it D. Illuminance? I like that word. Illuminance. Question number 4. Riding a sedan on a road downslope, car is gaining a different momentum. Since the car has maintained the same mass through the change of momentum, which among the following statements is true about the car? Is it A. The car's velocity is changing. B. The car is accelerating. C. There is a force that is being applied to the car. Or is it D. All of the above? Next question, question number 5. There are various different considerations when solving for the momentum of an object. Which among the following will have the greatest momentum? A. An elephant that has a mass of 270 kilograms moving with a velocity of 0.5 meters per second. B. A road runner that is 1.8 kilograms heavy and 6.7 meters per second fast. A rabbit that weighs 2.7 kilograms with a velocity of 7 meters per second. D. A turtle that is huge with a mass of 91 kilograms and a velocity of 1.4 meters per second. Let us now move on to the answers to those questions. Okay, for question number 1, the answer is 24.6 kilograms meters per second. Question number 2, the answer is mass and velocity. Question number 3, the answer is B, impulse. Question number 4, the answer is all of the above. For question number 5, the last question, so it's obviously an elephant that has a mass of 270 kilograms moving with a velocity of 0.5 meters per second. So, I hope that you got a really good score para konti na lang yung mga minamaster mo in this book. Okay, pero kung medyo mababa ang score natin, okay lang yan. Okay, just make sure that every step of the way, you pay attention. Okay? Again, every step of the way, you have to pay attention. If merong hindi clear na na-explain, you can always rewind that part. Okay, and if you are my student, you can always ask me some of these things during our synchronous sessions. And so do not forget, you're supposed to indicate your score, to write your score on the upper right-hand corner of your sheet of paper or of that page on your science notebook. Okay, pero huwag muna itabi yan because the next part of this session, as we know it, is another pre-assessment. Okay, it's a recap assessment about projectile motion, multiple choices. So we are doing this because we need to know if we are ready to move through the next. If we are ready to leave book 18. Okay, ready na ba tayo mag-take ng mga bagong ideas, ng mga bagong concepts in book 19. Okay? So question number 1. In the field, Dexter threw a javelin that had an initial velocity of 10 meters per second. He projected it with a whopping 60-degree angle. With respect to the horizontal. What is the vertical component of the initial velocity of the javelin Dexter threw? A. 8.67 meters per second. B. 6.78 meters per second. C. 7.86 meters per second. And then D. 8.76 meters per second. Question number 2. A mystery projectile was projected at 270 degrees with respect to the horizontal. It had an initial velocity of 10 meters per second. What is the horizontal component of that initial velocity? A. 9 meters per second. B. 6.09 meters per second. C. 5.05 meters per second. D. 0 meters per second. 0 meter per second. Question number 3. Andrew launched a projectile in such a way that the vertical distance traveled by the projectile is equal to the height between the launch point and the drop point of the projectile. Given this description, which among the following statements is true? A. The object dropped on the same spot. It was launched. So, pareho lang. B. The object is launched in an angle with respect to the horizontal. C. The projectile landed on the same height it was projected to fly. D. The projectile was launched horizontally. Question number 4. In a cloudy day, Jerome was playing frisbee with Glenn. He threw the frisbee with an initial velocity of 10 meters per second at 37 degrees with respect to the horizontal. If Glenn catches it within 2 seconds, what is the horizontal component of the displacement traveled by the frisbee? A. 13.972 meters. B. 15.972 meters. C. 16.972 thousandths meters. D. 14.972 thousandths meters. Medyo technical tayo sa C and D. Actually, you can also read 13.972 thousandths meters for letter A, and then 15.972 thousandths meters for item letter B. Okay, so yeah, I think that is how they're supposed to be read. Anyway, question number 5, last question. Nobody else loves throwing pennies in the well more than Taylor. One day, she threw a 1.5 gram coin vertically in a well that is 16 meters deep. How would you describe the horizontal and vertical components of the initial velocity of the coin? A. They are equal. B. There is no vertical component for the velocity. C. There is no horizontal component for the velocity. D. None of the above. Okay, let's now move on to answering these questions. The first question, the answer is 8.67 meters per second. Yun yung vertical component ng initial velocity ng javelin na tinrow ni Dexter. Question number 2, the answer is 0 meter per second. That is the horizontal component of the initial velocity. Next is question number 3. The projectile landed in the same height it was projected to fly. Pareho lang. So parang yun yung height niya, initial height niya, and then nagbalik na siya sa initial height and nag-drop siya. And then question number 4, the answer is 15.972 meters. Or 15 and 972 thousandths meters. I think that is how they read. Yung decimal point is supposed to be read as end, I think. And then, question number 5, the answer is there is no horizontal component for the velocity since it was just dropped. Okay, so the answer is letter C. Yeah. So, indicate your score on the upper right-hand corner of your sheet of paper or of that page in your science notebook. Okay, let us record that and let us organize your notes. Okay, for the last part of the session, we have the following. It's still a recap assessment, but this time you are going to fill in a table about details on Newton's laws of motion. We will be reaching our old grade 8 selves, and we will also be recalling Sir Isaac Newton's famous statements. So you can get your notebook from the previous year in answering, in filling out this table. So you have to fill the following table with the required pieces of information. You have to write here the law of motion, and then you have here the statement of the law. You should be writing it here, and then you should also be providing some examples. And then if there are misconceptions or common difficulties in understanding the law, or based from your experience, you can also put them in this in the cells under this column. Remember, may mga orders sila. So the first law is here, second law is here, the third law is here. What I want you to put as names for the Newton's laws of motion are their actual names. Yun. Okay, so you can pause this video if you need more time. I think you're ready. Let us now answer. Okay, the following. Let's now talk about the answers to the question, or to the table. It's basically like you're going to talk. We're going to talk about the statements of each law. Okay, so for the first law, it's the law of inertia. Okay, so inertia. Ayan. Talaga na yung pagkakabasa. Inertia. Okay, so an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will remain in motion with a constant velocity and direction unless an external unbalanced force acts upon it. Okay, so halimbawa, a ball is rolling. It will continue rolling at that constant velocity, that kind of direction, unless external unbalanced forces are going to act on it. Say, for instance, friction. Okay, yung friction ng ground or floor on which it is rolling, is that it can actually slow it down. It can change its velocity. Also, if halimbawa tatama siya sa isang object, like kung meron mang chair, okay, it hitting that chair will cause a change in velocity. It can also cause change in the direction, okay, of an object. Okay, so you can also cite some common misconceptions or common difficulties in understanding the law. Ayan. So usually ang mga misconceptions dito, yung mga confusions na mayroon dito, it's the similarity and differences between inertia, momentum, as well as centrifugal and centripetal force. Ayan. So may mga connections sila. They may not be one and the same, but they have connections. And we will be tackling them soon. I think your topics about centrifugal force was supposed to be discussed, if not grade 8, or if it's not grade 8, grade 10. Or if not grade 10, it's in the physical sciences of grade 11 or 12. Yeah. And then for the second law, it's the law of acceleration. It states that the acceleration of a body is inversely proportional to its mass and is directly proportional to the force applied to it. Say, for instance, an empty tricycle, okay, na ang talagang nakasakay lang is the manong driver or manang driver, is lighter. Okay, so if it's going to change its velocity from one velocity to another, that means to say if it's going to accelerate, it's easier because it's lighter. Okay, it requires just that kind of amount of force. But if it's going to be loaded with passengers, like siguro tatlo sa loob ng sidecar and isa sa may back right, it will become, it will have a higher mass. So you can expect its acceleration, if it's going to change its velocity from, say, for instance, 20 to around 40 kilometers per hour, it is going to be slower kasi mas mabigat na siya. So it will require more force to produce the same kind of acceleration it had before it was loaded. Yeah. There are actually so many misconceptions and common difficulties and confusions related to the law of acceleration, because acceleration, as we know it, is also, it has different formulae. Not just A is equal to F over M. Not just, acceleration is equal to force over mass. Okay, so perhaps we can cite that as a misconception or a common difficulty. Next is the law of interaction. The law of interaction states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So say, for instance, a bullet that is launched from a gun is going to produce a recoil. So if the direction of the bullet is going to be, like, say, for instance, towards the north, yung recoil, yung force na yun, it is towards south. Okay, so that's it. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, so that is it for the recap assessment. Newton's laws of motion. So, we did so many assessments in this session. All three parts are dedicated for assessments, but I hope that you were able to pass these assessments. Now, okay, reminder, if for the recap assessment, you scored really low, say for instance, you scored like around 2, or 1 or 2 or 0 over 5, which I hope is not the case, you are supposed to go back to the previous video lessons. Ay meron pang kapag hindi nag-get siguro doon, hindi pa na gaano na master doon, so you need to go back to those video lessons. Okay, if you need some more help, you can always message me, or you can always raise your questions in our synchronous video lessons. But I'm hoping that you were able to complete the recap assessment on Newton's laws of motion, because that means okay ka na sa recap assessment on projectile motion, multiple choices. Book 19 is all about relating impulse and momentum to collision of objects such as vehicular collisions. So I hope that I will be seeing you in the continuation of this book under Grade 9 Physics, the series under the Knowledge Catalog. This has been Sir CJ, and I hope that I will be seeing you in the next video lesson. Have a good day!